There is a Galactic Republic ship in the Clone Wars era of Star Wars that was so powerful it began the development line of Super Star Destroyers. Ships like the Executor and the Bellator Super Star Destroyer all originated from this design. And in today's video, we're going to look at how we can take it down with a handful of small ships. So the ship in question is none other than the Mandator-II class dreadnought. It is an absolute beast of a super capital ship, coming in at 42,240 hull and 42,000 shields. For its armament, it is equipped with 20 ultra heavy turbolasers, 20 heavy dual turbolasers, 14 medium dual ion cannons, and 5 assault concussion missiles. Its hangars also spawn 5 fighters and 2 bombers at a time. The ship is able to perform a lot of hull damage when shields are depleted. So in a capital ship 1v1, it's certainly going to get the most out of our post-shield damage. But that doesn't mean its shield stripping abilities are useless. The 5 heavy and 14 medium dual ion cannons allow strong damage against shields also, but are somewhat less effective when there are multiple smaller shielded ships. We'll be doing all of our testing in the Star Wars Empire War mod Fall of the Republic, and we'll be building the smallest, most optimized fleet we can make to take out the giant. Our first battle consists of 2 Pelter supports, 3 Acclimator carriers, 3 Venator Star Destroyers, 2 Victory-II Star Destroyers, and a Tector Star Destroyer leading the fleet. Now, we are going above and beyond regarding units here. Ideally, we want to avoid using capital ships like the Tector, but for this first battle is to ensure it's possible to reduce the fleet size if we win against the Mandator-II based on what ships remain in the aftermath. Right at the beginning of the battle, we see a large sum of damage to the Mandator-II's shields. This is caused by the incredibly powerful NTB 630 bombers that spawn once from the Venator Star Destroyer. These heavy bombers deal a ton of shield and hull damage, providing they're not countered by anti-starfighters like the CR-90, LAC, or Diamond Cruiser. Since the Mandator-II is providing its own support via fighters and bombers here, this will absolutely be our win condition. The power of these bombers are also supported by Y-Wings, which do a bit less damage, but can still provide that same heavy damage output like the NTB bombers, providing they are done in large numbers. The Tector Star Destroyer is being the star of the show here, as it completely tanks the incoming iron and turbo laser damage from the Mandator. It just goes to show just how powerful this vessel is if you're trying to fight it with large capital ships. By now, the Mandator is at half shields, so it's a little concerning that our strongest ship in the fleet is about to fall when we haven't even got to the hull yet. The Pelter support ships are trying to heal the hard points of all the ships within its vicinity, but it's not enough to keep up with the Mandator's damage. Now, the Pelters do have an active ability to instantly heal the closest hard points to itself, and it's on a relatively low cooldown as well. In this fight, I actually forget to use it, but in the next couple of fights, it will definitely come in handy. The Tector is finally destroyed right at the moment the Mandator shields are taken down. This means the Y-Wings and the NTBs can finally start taking down hardpoints and reducing the enemy ship's potential damage. This is crucial because I highly doubt the fleet could survive this sheer amount of damage output for much longer. And whilst every ship is involved in dealing damage, our bombers are currently at their full potential, which is crucial for reducing the Mandator's damage without much risk of being destroyed themselves. This is because the Mandator has no rapid fire point defense for missiles or lighter turbo lasers for a more accurate shot on a tiny fighter or bomber. At this point, the win is secured. The fighters are taking care of any enemy interceptors, the Pelters are denying any concussion missile damage to our carriers and also healing, bombers circle around crucial hardpoints, and the Victory Star Destroyers are preventing the enemy from regenerating shields. Whilst we do lose our Acclimators and a VSD, we won this battle without much micromanaging of the fleet. So let's see how well the fleet can perform with no Tector Star Destroyer and one less Venator. Venator. Also, if you're interested in seeing how the Confederacy fleets handled the Mandator-II, why not join our Patreon? For $5, you'll get access to that video, as well as plenty others that are Patreon only and will not be coming out on YouTube. Links to our Patreon will be in the pinned comment down below or in the info card in the top right corner. In our next, smaller fleet, we're running 3 CR90s, 2 Pelter supports, 3 Acclimators, 2 Venators, and 3 Victory-IIs. The removal of a Venator for a Victory has severely reduced our bomber fleets, but the addition of an extra VSD helps recoup the lack of a front line that the Tector Star Destroyers served as in our previous battle. Now, I have to say, we don't need this many CR90s. The Mandator doesn't have that many concussion missiles or fighters to worry about, so 1 would have been enough now that I think about it. The bombers don't waste any time and strip a 1/6 of the Mandator's shields, but the first VSD is already taking a huge beating. Within seconds, its shields are stripped and it begins losing damage output. It's not long until our first VSD is taken down and the Mandator is only at half shields. The potential chance of winning seems to be getting slimmer by the second, as our smaller bomber fleet isn't able to strip the shields down and beginning reducing the Mandator's damage in time. By the time our second VSD is downed, the shields of the Mandator are finally stripped, and we can focus on the hardpoints of the vessel. Unfortunately, the mistake of moving up our ships caused the Mandator to spread damage across our final VSD and completely destroy one of our Venators, meaning we really cannot afford to lose any bombers to enemy interceptors. This time around, I'm trying to use the Pelter's active ability to rush more healing, but it's simply not enough, as the fleet begins to struggle. It seems we really relied on that Tector Star Destroyer for that initial early defense. By the time the Mandator is at half health, we only have 1 Venator and VSD remaining. The bombers are slowly being picked off and not regenerating, as our 2 other Venators that they spawned from are destroyed. Our damage output severely drops and the match begins to slow down. By the time our last Venator is taken down, the Mandator is still at 1/3 health. The fighters and bombers do everything in their power to deal damage, but the match is completely over when the super capital ship begins regenerating shields. No amount of damage is able to prevent that now, and the match is lost. For our final battle, we're running 3 CR90s, 2 Pelter supports, 3 Acclimators, 3 Venators, and 3 Victory-IIs. This gives us our bomber superiority back from our first match and still have that frontline replacement that the Tector Star Destroyer originally gave us. The Mandator actually began attacking one of our Venators, so in a desperate attempt, one of our VSDs actually moved up and began soaking up the damage. Its shields were stripped in seconds and it was destroyed almost instantly. Thankfully, the Mandator's shields were already down by 2/3, meaning those extra wave of bombers was really working. By the time our second VSD was taken down, the shields on the Mandator were completely removed and destroying the hardpoints had begun. The Mandator didn't focus on any of the Venators, meaning all 3 VSDs were the first to go. This is what we wanted, as the VSDs, while still powerful, weren't going to provide too much in terms of damage compared to the bombers that were being spawned by the Venators and Acclimators. After our entire front line of VSDs were destroyed, the Mandator was already losing a large amount of hardpoints, meaning it was going to struggle to destroy the Venators just as fast. This time around, however, I didn't move any of the ships forward and allowed the Mandator to come to me, as its weaponry further back towards the engines weren't able to reach my fleet, giving me more time to dish out more damage. Eventually, one of my Venators do get taken down, but the Mandator is struggling, having to reposition after each takedown, causing it to seriously lose momentum against my fleet. Another Venator falls, leaving us with just 3 Acclimators and 1 Venator left, and yet the Mandator has to reposition once again with only 1/4 of its hull remaining. With its last bit of power, it takes out 1 Acclimator and then is completely destroyed by the swarm of bombers, leaving us with 2 Acclimators and a Venator Star Destroyer remaining, with the win securely ours. Looking back at the battle, I certainly think the fleet could be even smaller. For one, we don't need those CR-90s because there isn't as many concussion missiles coming from the Mandator. The pelters, whilst helpful, weren't healing enough compared to the Mandator-II's damage, and it was a lot of hassle having to use their active abilities and pulling me away from micromanaging the hardpoints of the Mandator. So perhaps we could only use one of those in the center of the fleet instead of two. And finally, I think if I really worked hard enough, I think we could remove that extra VSD. Remember, we lost the first one really early because the AI began attacking a Venator that was a bit too close. So the VSD had to move up and then get destroyed just so it would aggro onto a different ship. If I had to try this again, I certainly wouldn't use any CR-90s, I'd reduce the amount of pelters I'd use, I'd try to use only 2 Victory 2s, but overall we definitely need those 3 Venators, and we do need those 3 Acclimators as well. But what about you? Have you been able to take out the Mandator-II with an even smaller fleet? If you have, I'd love to see it if you've uploaded it on YouTube, or if you don't, let me know in the comments down below and tell me how you did it. I'd really love to hear your methods of play when going against a super capital ship in this game. And of course, if you want to see how the Confederacy did, why not join our Patreon? That video is going up tomorrow as of recording this video, so if you want to watch that and all the other Empire War videos I've done for Patreon viewers only, it'll be in the info card in the top right section area or in the pinned comment down below. But besides that, guys, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.